There is a great article in the New York Times that really, really, really portrays this well about how the Hamptons is
Oh,
in
it's
an
amazing.
uproar that their slave caste is going to be deported. And these people,
Yes.
with absolute seriousness, are like, who is going to cut our grass? We are so compassionate. Leave them here. And they don't realize that what they're saying is, my God, we might have to pay an American a living wage, right? This is the
You're right.
Democratic Party, okay? So how do they hide this from the American people? That they are rich and they want indentured servants to clean their homes so they don't have to pay Americans a living wage to do it. They latched onto this woke ideology of race and gender, where they said, oh, we don't want open borders because we want slaves. We want open borders, and you guys are racists if you oppose it. We are the compassionate ones, and you are the racist ones. We are the ones who support Joy Reid. If you criticize her, you are racist. We are the ones who support Rachel Maddow. If you criticize her, you are anti-gay. They used the woke ideology to portray themselves as the good guys while they were robbing their neighbors blind and calling them racist and sexist to hide their crimes. This is who the Democratic Party is. And what we're seeing now with the firing of these people, and obviously, Rachel Maddow refused. You're totally right. That whole speech last night, the only thing people should take away from it is that she refused to actually resign in protest, right? Like that's the
Right.
thing that happened there, right? What we're
Yeah.
seeing now is if the wokeness took a worldview that Americans used to have based on the difference between right versus wrong and replaced it with a worldview based on powerful versus powerless, race, white versus black, straight versus gay, right? And whoever is a person of color or gay is inherently virtuous because they have less power, and whoever is white is inherently evil because they are the oppressor. We are now seeing with the firing of these people a return on the part of the American people to a worldview based on right versus wrong and common sense, which has been ushered in by the mass support for President Trump from minorities and from working class people of all races. We're entering a new unified moment of average Americans reclaiming what they know is their right to a worldview based on right versus wrong, their right to define who they are as good people, and just the absolute silencing of this garbage from the woke elites who are also not coincidentally all millionaires.
Yeah, that's so true. I want to play the Jane Fonda soundbite from the SAG Awards the other night, which encapsulates a lot of this too. But I've got to spend a minute on that New York Times article. We read this as a team over the weekend, and we were all like, thank God Batya's here on Tuesday. I cannot wait to talk about this with Batya. It's worth quoting from. Okay, so the headline is in the New York Times, they helped make the Hamptons, and now they're living in fear. Subheadline, Latino immigrants care for some of America's most lavish beachside mansions. Their disappearance would affect the wealthy, too. By Dion Searcy, reporter who writes about wealth and power, and Anna Lay, who covers mass transit in New York. Okay, some samples. Wealthy residents of the Hamptons demand perfection. Now, many of the people who make it so, Latino immigrants, some of them undocumented, are panicking about President Trump's deportation orders. The fear is on display outside a convenience store where day laborers sprint into a nearby field when a stranger approaches. It is present in the nervous apologizing of a longtime housekeeper when she interacts with police after a minor automobile scrape. And it courses through a small encampment in the woods where a landscaper is awaiting warmer weather so he can start cutting grass again to send money home to his family in Mexico. Obviously an illegal. Tom Homan, alert. In the Hamptons, with miles of privet hedges and luxury homes, Latino immigrants make up the bulk of the workforce, logging 12-hour days flipping mattresses, scrubbing toilets, and hanging drywall, and in the summer tending vineyards and assembling patio furniture under the hot sun. Some arrived illegally, crossing the U.S. border after grueling desert or jungle treks. Some have legal working papers, but are worried they could be swept up in raids, or that their undocumented family members and friends could. Some believe Trump is going after criminals, others aren't sure. In the town of East Hampton, which encompasses many of the villages at the East End, Latinos make up more than a quarter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then they go on. Okay. Some of the wealthy are quietly beginning to make calculations about what it would mean if their undocumented workers were deported. Who would mow the lawn? Everyone relies on housekeepers and carpenters and tree cutters and grass cutters, said Merritt Molan, founder and executive director of Hamptons Community Outreach. People come to the Hamptons to enjoy their houses, and who is going to take care of them now? It's amazing, Batya.
It's amazing. And the piece explores how a lot of these people, a lot of the illegal immigrants are living in encampments in the woods because, of course, they can't afford a home or even to rent on the Hamptons. Their indentured servants are literally homeless. They're day laborers, and they are fighting to keep their slaves as if they are walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge with Dr. King. It is so absolutely disgusting. Everyone has to read this article because they just have zero sense of, no awareness of how this would come across to an average American. And Megyn, I'll just give you one data point. There is not a single industry in America that is a majority illegal immigrant. Not one. Not a single one, which means that every time a Democrat says they're doing the jobs an American doesn't want, they are insulting millions and millions and millions of Americans who get a lot of dignity from cleaning toilets or doing farm work or any of the other number of mowing the lawn that these rich Democrats would rather kill themselves than do. And I think that's the key here. I mean, it's hilarious and it's infuriating that they call people racist who call them out for this. But at the end of the day, the Democrats' version of the economy is they want everybody who they care about, all of their, college educated professional managerial elites to be making, $250,000 a year. They want all manufacturing shipped overseas to China and all of the service industry jobs to be done by slaves who are brought here by cartels. That's their model of the economy. They're going to pay off working class people to stay home.
The people who live in the woods, who mow their lawns and scrub their toilets, they don't get paid a real salary. They don't have a paycheck. They're all paid cash under the table so that these people don't have to pay any sort of employer worker insurance, and so that they can pay them this lower wage that the immigrant takes the full balance of. That person doesn't have to pay taxes on it. So both parties understand they're going to have to pay less. Believe me, I had lots of people who suggested to me when I was younger and needing nannies, and when my kids were little, oh, here's this woman, but she wants to get paid under the table. No, I said, no. We're not doing that. And I paid everybody. I mean, I'll never fail an audit because anybody who's ever helped me has gotten paid over the table. And yes, you then have to pay a little more because you want somebody who's great and you want their net salary to be competitive for them, to be a living wage that they can actually enjoy life with, or they will find somebody else to work for. And it does cost more. I could have gotten lots of folks who were undocumented to work for me for a cheaper wage, but I didn't do it. But these people in the Hamptons who have more money than I do, way more money than I do. There's a home out there worth $450 million. They don't, and I'm not talking about this particular owner, but I'm just saying people like that who are in this article don't want to have to pay. They're scrimping and saving every last dime, and they don't want to pay it to an American who, yes, might cost a little more, especially because you'd have to pay them over the table.
That's exactly right. And you will be surprised to know who the last Democrat to admit this was. It was Bernie Sanders in 2015. When Ezra Klein asked him in an interview, he said, "You care so much about the poor, Senator Sanders. Shouldn't we have open borders?" And Bernie's response was, he went like this. And Megyn, I'm going to do my Bernie Sanders impression only for you.
Yeah, great.
He went, "Open borders? That's a Koch brothers proposal." He was horrified. He went on to say the Koch brothers would love that. Have an open border, pay people $2, $3 an hour. And then he went, "I don't believe in that." He said, "I believe in paying American workers." And the point I would make about this is Lori DeRemer, the President Trump's labor secretary pick, she made this point that an open border hurts the working class. This used to be the Democrats' view. And now watch as every Democrat, including Senator Sanders, are going to vote against her. Tulsi Gabbard was raked over the coals for opposing war and opposing spying on Americans. These used to be left-wing positions. Now they're Donald Trump's positions. And so every single Democrat voted against her again and again with these picks. You see Donald Trump pushing views, great views, sensible views, views that represent where the American people are at. And because he's pushing them, the Democrats have turned on them. There is not a single principle that the Democrats would not abandon if they thought Trump liked it.
We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, and we could have a big problem. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Well, gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Just text my initials MK to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.